Good morning. I feel like I know most of the people in this room. I'm going to start. I record my speeches as well because I like grading myself later and telling myself how terrible I am later. You know, critiquing is very important. Self-critique is very important. Thank you. I always say that time is the most important thing that we have. You know, it's that finite resource that we don't have much of, and every day we have less of. And so when people make time to come out and hear a message, especially from me, I like to thank them from the bottom of my heart because it's important. And so thank you. I was talking to a friend last night, and I was like, hey, I got to go to sleep. We were talking on the phone, and I'm like, eventually, you know, it was already late. And he goes, oh, yeah, you're going to go do that law of attraction thing that you do. And I was like, well, it's not really what I do, but I'm like, part of the law of attraction is kind of what I do. You know, I think people hear those terms sometimes and they think, oh, a bunch of like hippies and, you know, crazy people, right? But, you know, the law of attraction really, it's a two-part thing. A lot of people have confused it for being this like, oh, you think of money and you get money. You think of a car and you get a car, right? The most important part of the law of attraction is the word attraction and the last part of that word, which is action, right? So it should be the law of action with deep thought. It's really what it should have been called, but it doesn't have the same ring. So I think that they just shortened it back in the day. A lot of people know it because of The Secret, the book and the movie. And that movie, a lot of people don't know, got that from a way older book, and that book got it from a way older knowledge and writings and all that. So it's just ancient knowledge that's just kind of like coming back, because people, you know, nowadays it's a little chaotic and crazy, and so people are reaching for that wisdom. And also a lot of people, well, in business, let's say if you're a business person, you're reaching for that one thing that's going to make that difference. You know what I mean? If you're in a personal relationship, you're reaching for how is something going to make me better. You're reaching for that one thing that's going to make it better. But anyhow, so I don't really do law of attraction, you know. I do a lot of law of action. So that had nothing to do with this whole thing today. But all right, with that being said, I want to start with a question, okay? And everybody in this room collectively, I want everybody please to take a deep breath. All right, take a breath. And all right, one more time, just deep. Go deep on me. And then breathe out. All right? When's the last time you did that? Have you done it this morning? Maybe when you woke up, maybe. All right? It's important to oxygenate the blood, all right, and get the blood flowing through you. But I want to start with a question. As I say this question, I really, really want you to focus on the question itself and take it in. All right? The question is this: am I 100% happy with my life? Am I 100% happy with my life? Am I 100% happy with where I'm going in life? Am I 100% happy with where I've gotten to in life? All right, I want you to really think about that, and I want you to be honest with yourselves. Really honest, okay? Because you cannot evolve or grow without honesty. That's the first step in life, in the evolution of anything. It's of a person especially, is knowing who you are, where you want to go. And it's okay to say no, all right? Because otherwise, if you just fool yourself into thinking you are, you can't evolve, and you can't change, and you can't grow. Now, for some of my smart aleck friends in the group, they'll probably say, oh, come on, bro. There's no such thing as 100% happy. There's no such thing. There's no such thing in life. And a lot of people have been fooled into thinking that. A lot of people have been fooled into thinking, you know what, okay is okay. Just kind of happy is okay. I'm kind of happy, that's okay, because there's no such thing as 100% happy. A lot of people have been fooled into that. And what happens is that you grow comfortable, right? And you just stop growing. Because you're like, I'm kind of happy. Yeah, maybe my husband's gained weight or I've gained weight, but that's okay, we're happy. Maybe I didn't get that raise, or, you know, I'm not trying to go for a better job, but that's okay. Maybe I haven't taken that dream trip. That's okay. I've been to other places, right? And a lot of people have been fooled into thinking that this stagnant kind of thought is okay. But it's not okay, all right? So I'm going to tell you something. I have met people that are 100% happy. I'll give you the first example, extreme example, Buddhist monk. He was 100% happy. Now you're going to say, oh, dude, Buddhist monk. Of course, he lives in a mountain, he doesn't have anything, right? Why does that matter? He's exactly where he wants to be, and he's perfectly at peace with his life. He's happy. But I'm going to give you a better example than that. I just wanted to kind of like take away that excuse, because people are full of excuses. People want to say, there's no such thing. I just gave you an example. Well, yeah, but that's different, right? That's how people are, and that's how you're programmed from the time you're a kid, to look for that excuse to justify your failures, right? But we're not going to do that today. It's going to be like a mental butt kicking a little bit, right? So let me give you another example. About 10 years ago, I find myself, as I often do, on a beautiful beach with a beautiful girl. We're near the beach, and we're like driving these ATVs. It was for work. I make it sound better than it is, right? It was for work. I was her boss, and she had to be there. So we're in these she had no choice about it. So we were in these mangroves, driving ATVs through the mangroves. It was beautiful. It was hot that day. And we're following this trail. And as we follow the trail, we start seeing that kind of sand starts appearing, white sand. And it's like a little hill. And we start going up this hill in the ATVs. And as we go up the hill, more sand starts coming. And you can start hearing the ocean, and you start feeling the breeze. And we pull up. And it's the most beautiful turquoise, picture-perfect beach you can imagine. It looked like a postcard. And we both stopped the ATVs, and there's tears in this girl's eyes. She's from the Pacific Coast. She had never seen water like this. There's literally tears in her. I had seen this view many times, but I kind of got teared up just looking at her reaction. And so we're sitting there, and we notice out of the corner of our eyes that there's somebody about 20 yards away. It's a red umbrella. So we start going that way with the ATVs, and the closer we get, here's this guy sitting on a chair under the umbrella with his feet up on a cooler. And on the cooler, there's a sign that says, $5, 2 Coronas. I'm like, whew, fastest $5 I've ever spent in my life, right? So he gives us 2 Coronas, and we're sitting there, and I'm talking to him. And I don't remember his name, to be honest with you, but I asked him, I said, hey, where are you from? He goes, I'm from here. I was born 2 miles away. And I'm like, what do you do? And he goes, this is what I do. I sell Coronas to tourists. So I said, okay. He goes, I actually live like right here on the property. I live in a little hut. And he goes, and I fish every day and I eat. I'm like, wow, okay. I'm like, do you ever go anywhere? And he says, no. He goes, why would I want to go anywhere? He was like, look at my office, you know? And he's speaking perfect English, by the way. All right? And I said, yeah, it's kind of nice. And he goes, man, I got people from Europe coming here, from Italy, Spain, Germany, Guatemala, Salvador, all over the world. They come here to look at my view, right? He goes, why would I want to go anywhere? Of course, you know, me being me, I have my BS meter on, right? My radar. I'm like looking at him like, come on, dude, really? Come on, really? But I noticed something. And I noticed that he's telling the truth. He's telling the truth. This guy is genuinely 100% happy. And do you know why? Because we mistake happiness for the things that we want, not the things that we need. You know, we often do that. So we think about the things that we want, and those things make us unhappy. We think we're going to be happy if we had those things. Whereas this guy, with what he has, he's happy, right? Needs are food, a place to live. Those are needs, right? I would hope everybody in here has a place to sleep and food. If you don't, talk to me seriously, because that will help you. But I would hope that you have that. Those are your needs, and that's where we start. And if you're not happy with that right now, what makes you think you're going to be happy with a lot more, with everything else? But what do we do in society? We look at the car that we want. We look at the jobs that we want, right? We look at the trips that we want that our friends are taking, and that stuff starts getting in our mind. And we start thinking and getting bitter and saying we want more, and we want it now. Not even that we just want it, we want it now. And unhappiness starts to creep in to our blood. It's a poison, right? Whereas this guy, or the Buddhist monk, they've gone to another level of thinking. They've gone to a level of thinking that, hey, I'm going to be happy with what I have, and I'm going to grow from there. And then if they get more, they get more. Like that guy wasn't turning down a $5 tip that I gave him. You see what I mean? But he wasn't going to be happy if I didn't give him that tip. He was already happy, right? So you got to think about that, and we got to start with that, with just the notion that where our happiness comes from and how that works. And that's what my question was to you, for you to be honest with yourself. Now, here's this thing. From the time we were kids, we've been molded, right? From the time you were kids, You came up in whatever situation you came up with. But let's say the traditional situation, your parents, your siblings. So we learn from them. Whatever they tell us, they teach us, they mold us a little bit. Then we go to school, the teachers mold us a little bit. Then our grandparents mold us a little bit. The neighborhood kids, our friends, they mold us a little bit, right? Our teams that we play sports, they mold us. Society, the rules, whatever laws are in where you live, they mold us. And what starts happening? We start getting into this box with all these rules, right? And all these things, and those things make you who you are today. Your childhood and everything you're carrying make you who you are this moment right now. For good or for bad or for worse, all right? Who you are right now, what you're carrying with you, all those experiences and all that molding, right, is who made you today. I'm going to give you an example. George, I'm going to put you on the spot. Come up here real quick. This is a very simple example. I'll put two people on the spot, so don't worry. You won't be the only one. All right, George. Stand, face me this way. No, face me this way. George used to be one of my security guards, my main security guard at my club, by the way. So he's a good guy. All right, so come forward. Just come, walk to me. Pretty easy, right? Okay, all right. So can I borrow you? What was your name? Jim? Steve? Okay, my psychic abilities are off today. So Jim, I'm just kidding. Steve. All right, so put your hands on his shoulders. Turn towards me, and then, no, get behind him, and put your hands like this, like hold him like that. Stop him from moving forward, okay? Walk to me. Just walk to me. Come on, big boy. No? Okay, it's a little harder, right? Now, if I added Jonathan behind Steve, thank you guys. If I added Jonathan behind Steve, it'd get harder and harder, right? This is life, it's the same thing. This is how you're moving through life, carrying all these things and all this weight of everything that you know and that you have. And what's happened is that you've molded yourself into this person now. Because this is who I am, because look at what I'm carrying. And see, because Steve is my father, right? And Jonathan is my uncle and my mentor. And you see, you're carrying all these things. I want you to think about concrete. You ever notice the big concrete trucks? And you ever think about, this rotating thing keeps it liquid, right? It keeps it liquefied, right? And then all of a sudden, you take it to a home or whatever to do the foundation, and you pour out the concrete. And what happens? It stays out there in the sun, it stays still, and it solidifies. And now it's hard. You want to move that, it's going to break, right? You've become solid. And you're in a solid state right now. Let's go back to my question. Are you happy with your life right now? Are you 100% happy, right? And how that ties in is this. Because all of your childhood, if you said no, and I would bet that 8 out of 10 people maybe in here said no. If you said no, all of that traction, all of that weight you're carrying has led to that answer, no. So what we need to do is change that. Because if your past has created who you are today, and your answer to my question of are you happy is no, then we got to change the past, right? How do we do that? Well, you can't go back and change actual events. But what you can do is change the way that you think about past events. Does that make sense? A lot of people want to say, I'm going to give you the biggest mistake people make when I teach one-on-one. People live in absolutes, and that is one of the first mistakes in life. Let me give you an absolute. I hate sushi. Well, you hate rice and fish. I hate sushi. Why do you hate sushi? Oh, well, I can't stand it. You've had every sushi in the world at every restaurant in the world? No, but I hate it. Okay. I hate Christmas. Why do you hate Christmas? It's commercialized. It's commercialized, bro. You hate Christmas. Okay, that's an absolute. I don't do this. Oh, I hate pink. I hate that color. I don't do that. I don't go there. I don't go. Oh, I don't like him. I don't like her. People live in absolutes. Listen, it's okay to be uncomfortable with certain things in life. But when you start training your mind from the time you were a kid to say, I don't like this, I don't like that, I don't do this, I don't do that, what have you done to yourself? Now you've also helped that molding become just completely hard, right? So what do we got to do? We got to train the mind to let go of that. First thing you got to do is stop living in absolutes. Stop saying things like that. Like, I don't do this, I hate that, I can't do this, I don't do that. Stop living that way. Because you're only teaching your brain to live with what? What's the word? With what? Well, yeah, absolutely. Of course, that's the word I gave you, right? But with limitations, okay? You're teaching your brain to live with limitations. I don't do that. Okay, then you don't. Because what did Henry Ford say? Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're correct. You're right, right? Okay? So you're teaching your brain. When you live in absolutes, you're teaching your brain. I'm going to teach you an easy way to get out of that. You can start that right now. Next time you find yourself saying a negative, override it with a positive. Immediately, instantly. I don't have kids, but I know that the way you teach kids is you teach them in that moment. If a kid does something, a 5-year-old, and you get home 3 hours later and you spank them, they really don't make that correlation. They kind of are like, oh, yeah, okay, I did something bad earlier. But see, they're out of that emotional state, so it really doesn't work. I've worked with child therapists, by the way, so yeah, that's what they've taught me. But anyhow, and your mind is the same way. Your mind is very childish that way because your mind, the subconscious, is just a childish thing. It's a fluid thing, and what you tell it is the way it's going to be. What you teach it, it'll do. Okay? So the next time you find yourself saying, I don't do that, either say, you know what, I can do that, or why did I say that? Question yourself. I don't like that. Oh, maybe I do like it. It's that easy. Maybe I would like it. I hate horror movies. They scare me. You're just maybe uncomfortable, but don't say hate. I mean, hate's a very strong word, right? Hate's what's going on with people like terrorists around the world, right? They breed hate. So think about that. Every time you say something negative, every time you say an absolute, override it instantly. That's going to start kicking your brain into another mode. Okay, that's going to start kicking your brain into like, oh, okay, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't be thinking that way. So number one is absolutes. How do we keep training it? There's a surefire way that's a two-prong system that I teach and that I've learned. There's somebody coming in. And I won't embarrass you by saying that you're 20 minutes late. I'm just kidding. She's like, really? Thank you. Come on in, come on in. You could come in. So I'm going to teach you a system that I was taught, okay? There's two ways that you start retraining your brain and breaking out of that mold and breaking what you've been carrying forever, all right? Number one, it's going to be that every day for 30 days, starting today if you want, starting tomorrow if you want, every day for 30 days, you're going to get up and do something physically different. Whatever it is. If it's getting up and you go straight to brush your teeth, tomorrow you're going to get up and stretch and take 10 deep breaths, all right? If you turn on the TV, first thing you do, don't turn it on. Go turn on the radio, okay? These are subliminal things that you're doing to your brain. Trust me, it works. What you're doing is that you're telling your brain that you could break a pattern, okay? Because what you've gotten used to is that pattern, right? Every day. Now, for the law of attraction people in the room, you say, oh yeah, that correlates to life in general. We live in patterns. We live with what we know and what we do, and so that's what we do, and that's what we know. See what I mean? So number one is the physical. Second will be the mental. I gave it to you earlier. You can start with as easy as every time you say something negative, you say something positive. That's mental exercise, okay? Remember, there's two things you have to do every day for 30 days, okay? The mental could be anything else. It could be a prayer that you never do. It could be singing out loud just for your mind to get going. That's partly physical, partly mental, but it activates certain parts of your brain. Mental could be just you focusing on something, visualizing on something. But you have to do it every single day. And these two things start helping your brain kind of become fluid again, to get that concrete just moving a little bit again. It's kind of like if you go up to the concrete physically and there's solutions that you can pour that start melting it down and liquefying it again. And that's what we're trying to do to the brain, okay? Is breaking out of this past, all this weight that you have. You don't need it. People feel like, well, I'm this way. People know me like who I am. This is the way I've always been, right? But yet they answer the question, no, I'm not happy 100%. See what I mean? They're trapping themselves. Why? There's no reason. There's no reason to trap yourself in a way that you've been, because that keeps you from moving forward. That will keep you to getting to where you want to go, okay? Subconscious and conscious is a very, very scientific thing. People are still studying it, but I'm going to give you the basics of it. Your conscious tells the subconscious what to do. It's a system that works in that way. You have to activate your subconscious. Your subconscious, though, is way more powerful than your conscious. That's a fact. Your subconscious is why your heart is beating right now and why you're breathing. You don't even think about that until I said that. Your subconscious is what your eyes do when you're driving. You're not really focused on all those lights and every single thing. You're not. You're just driving, right? That's your subconscious. The subconscious is way more powerful than your conscious, but your conscious is the gateway, okay? So back in Guatemala, where I was born, we have a friend named Florencio. And this gentleman has the distinction, unfortunately, of being the most kidnapped person in Central America. Now, it's something that he didn't want to be in Guinness. They actually contacted him, and they said, do you want to be in our book? He's like, no, and tell people where I live, and all this and all that. He'd been kidnapped a ton of times. All right, I think it was like 8 or 9 times for ransoms. Well, the last time, he was kidnapped by some really, really, really bad dudes, and nobody wanted to go get him, not even the cops, not the federal police, not the government. Nobody wanted to go get Florencio. So my father was like, I'll go, because that's who he was, cocky and crazy. Well, I moved out at 15, but it's not about me. It's about you, okay? So anyways, my father, I love him. I love him to death. He's doing better, by the way. So he goes, I'll go. And they're like, you're going to get killed, man. He's like, I'm not going to get killed. That's my dad. He's like, whatever, man. You're going to get killed. Like, these people kill everybody. You pay the ransom, and they kill you anyhow, and they kill everybody. All right, okay. Well, let's go find out. So my dad goes. I was a young kid when this happened. So he goes, and the story I hear is this, that he walks into this place, or I guess at first they took him to a place, right? They blindfolded him and did all that stuff. They took him to this place, and he walks in, and the main kidnapper recognizes my father as his ex-soccer coach, because my dad used to train little kids, little poor kids. And he calls him profe, like it's a loving term, like profe, and he hugs him. And much to the chagrin of Florencio, who's tied up in the closet, my father and these guys, they start drinking all night. My dad loves to drink, and at the time, and so, which is a whole nother story, but so they start drinking. So Florencio's like, dude, I can hear them like laughing and drinking, and now I'm like, is he in on it, or what is going on, right? I'd be pissed, I'd be like, really, dude, I'm thirsty, but anyway, so he's in the closet bound and gagged and all this, and my dad's having a jolly time telling jokes, and they're talking about the old neighborhood and all this, so at the end of the morning, the kidnapper tells my dad, hey, man, you know what, well, obviously I can't kill your best friend, but I don't know what to do in this situation. Leave us the money, and out of respect, we're going to let you guys go. If people come after us, then we're going to go after you, and let's just do a handshake deal. To this day, my father has never told anybody who that person was, right? But he saves them. All that story has nothing to do with what I'm about to tell you, about the conscious and subconscious, okay? But it was the backstory. I'm a producer-director. Give me a little bit of leeway, right? So that's the backstory to Florencio. So, all right, here's the deal. Florencio had a dog. He lived in his big house. If you fly into Guatemala, you can actually see his house. He's a very wealthy man, of course. And so you can see his house from the airport. For the kidnappers out there, I won't tell you what house it is, but you can see his home. It's very big. And at his home, he's got security, and part of his security is that he's got dogs. And he used to have this dog, and this dog's name was Oso. And we don't know what breed it was, but it looked like a bear. Oso in Spanish means bear. And Oso was this huge, and I mean, I was a kid, but this dog was massive. It looked like a bear. And he was trained to only listen to him and to one of the guys, to the trainer of the dog. This dog was like military grade, crazy ninja of dogs. Like, he wouldn't bark. If somebody would break in at night, he would crawl like he was Rambo. He was crazy. And they trained him like this. And he'd crawl, and if he got close enough, you were gone. You know what I mean? Because that's what he did. Also would listen to Florencio. If Florencio was like, sit down, the dog would sit. Eat, he would eat. Go to your cage, ran to his cage. That dog could have killed him at any moment. Could have killed anybody, right? If he wanted to. But he didn't, because he was trained. Florencio was the conscious. The dog was the subconscious. You have a beast inside of you. Something way, way more powerful than you, this energy. And that's also, right, it's the bear inside of all of us. You have this. You have control over it. But you have to activate that control and that power. And that's conscious versus subconscious. Your conscious is a blank slate. Your subconscious is a blank slate, and your conscious has to write on it. And I talk about this extensively because I want you to understand that, the system of how that works. Now, some people say, Well, I constantly ask for things. I'm constantly like praying and meditating. I'm like, no, I don't think you pray. I've seen some of my friends pray. What do we do every day? I pray every day. Do you really pray every day? Do you really pray every day? Let's talk about this, right? All right, how long do you pray for every day? My grandmother used to pray an hour every morning. People say, I don't have an hour. Really? You don't? We'll talk about that too. All right? Prayer is not, oh, God, thank you for my day and my food, and I'm glad everybody's healthy, and if I can have that job, if I can only get a little bit more money, get out of this situation, I'm in. All right. I spent 15 seconds doing that prayer. For a lot of people, that's like a long time. This guy's out there with his eyes closed, right? That's 15 seconds. And what you do is then you eat your food, and then you go watch a movie for 2.5 hours. And then you go to the gym for 2 hours. And then you watch YouTube videos. Then you play Pokemon Go, right? And then you do everything. You play video games. You play games. You do everything and anything but connect with your subconscious. Because you can't be bothered to spend more than 15, 20 seconds, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 10 minutes really focusing. You'd rather fill your brain with the dreams of other people. I want you to think about that. When you're watching a movie, you're watching the actor's dreams come true. You're watching the director, the screenwriter, all the people who worked on that movie. Those are their dreams. You're watching to distract yourself from actually working for your dreams. So don't tell me you don't have an hour to pray or to meditate or to focus every day. Okay? Because you're only kidding yourselves. And that's part of your upbringing, and that's part of all that past, right? That you're carrying with you, that you think you're doing it right. You think you're meditating because you sat there straight, falling asleep maybe in your bed for 15 minutes. You know what I'm talking about. It's people who want to start meditating, and they do it at night. I do it, bro, right before I go to sleep, bro, because it helps me sleep. You're just breathing slow, man, and falling asleep. You're not meditating. Correct meditating is you have to have your spine aligned and your head up and all that. A whole nother class, and I charge a lot for that. No, I'm just kidding. So, but you're not doing it, right? And you're not connecting. You're saying you want something. My friend was like, oh, I'm going to open a bakery. Okay, you're going to open a bakery. Cool. I called her one night. Hey, what are you doing? Oh, nothing. I'm watching this movie I rented on demand. All right, cool. No problem. Call her next day. Hey, what are you doing? Oh, I'm reading my vampire book. Just came in on Amazon Prime. All right, cool. Call her the weekend. Hey, what are you doing? We're going to the lake. Okay, cool. When was the last time you baked anything? Oh, I'm going to look into that. You don't want to be a baker. You don't want to have a bakery. You want to say, it sounds nice. I'm going to open a bakery. It sounds nice. But you're not doing, there's kids here, right? You're not doing anything, right, to accomplish it. You're doing everything in your life but accomplishing your dreams. Don't fool yourself. That's why there's about 1% of the world who's extremely 100% happy and you're not. Right? That's why there's very few people on this planet that have so much wealth and so much power. Because when you meet somebody who's passionate about a dream, they annoy us with how much they talk about their passion and their dream. And we're like, what are you doing? Baking? Oh, you don't want to go to the lake? No, I'm baking. Ugh, boring. Right? What are you doing? I'm reading books on baking. Oh, you're reading books on baking? Let's go to the movies. No, I'm reading a book. You see what I mean? Other people's dreams annoy us. But why? Because we don't have the discipline. And they do. And seeing what we don't have annoys us. Have you ever noticed that? Somebody's got a nice car. Thinks he's all badass with his Ferrari. But you want to be in that Ferrari. If you were to come over and say, hey, you want to ride? Be like, yeah, all right. You want to drive it? Yeah. Right? Oh, they just bought a big house. They think they're badass. Oh, Luis is at a beach again. He thinks he's a badass. Right? But you want to be on that beach. If I were like, hey, come for free. I got a free ticket. You're like, yeah, when? I'm in. I'm going to go get my pre-tan on. Right? It annoys us that we can have things that we don't work for and are not disciplined enough to focus on. Guys, I didn't have anything when I came to this country. Zero. I didn't even know how to speak English. Okay? But you could tell sometimes my accent comes out. Un poquito. So I didn't have any children in our family, and we got here to this country. And you know what we said? We said, wow, There's a lot of opportunities where people aren't shooting at us and we can make money. See what I mean? But no, people want to be like, nah, I work full time. Anyway, sorry, I'm going to get on a soapbox. But we have opportunities. I've worked for everything. I haven't been given anything, and I've also had a lot of help because I've had amazing mentors who kicked my butt mentally and said, what are you doing, man? You're partying, you're going to clubs, you're drinking all the time. You don't want to be a TV producer. You can do that once you become a TV producer. That's what that life is about, and it kind of is. The production world's a lot of drinking. But he goes, but while you're trying to get there, that's not what you do. And I'm like, you know what, you're right. So I got a key to where I used to work, my first job, and I was the first one there, last one to leave, and I was there every weekend, learning how to use the camera, learning how to use the edit system. My friends were all partying. Nope, sorry, dude, building my career. My girlfriend, sorry, we got to break up. Sorry, it is what it is. Come with me or leave. Okay? But I was focused. Then I wanted a business. You think I was out partying and talking about it? No, I was doing it and working and meeting people. I wanted a nightclub, so I was talking to people that own nightclubs and doing this and that, visualizing, wanting it, connecting with that source that we all have within us. I'm nobody special. I'm less than special than most people in this room. But what you won't do is you're not going to outdrive me, and you won't outpassion me. You won't do it. If I have a passion for something, I will beat you. You might have more money in the bank, you might have a better car, bigger house, whatever. But you won't have more passion. That's how I'm going to feel. And if you do, you're going to have to battle me for that reign, for that title. See what I mean? When I want something, I focus. I know I have an energy in me, and I'm going to use everything I have within me to connect to that energy, and I'm going to get it. And I'm going to demand the universe or God or whatever you want to call it to give it to me. All right? I don't see failures. The only failure I see is not doing something. When I do something and it doesn't go the right way, I'm like, okay, I'm bummed for about 5 minutes. And then I'm like, okay, what did I learn from that? And I move forward and I do it again and again and again until I get it. All right? Couple things. Number one, that exercise that I gave you, it works, people. If you do a mental thing, right? And if you do a physical thing every day for 30 days, as small as they might be, you'll start training your mind to just think differently, to break out of patterns. Number two, stop thinking about what your life is because of the way that you've lived. Start thinking about the way it could be by the way you can live and can be. All right? So if you're in a relationship, for instance, and you're like, well, we fought about this before. See, you're already adding more poison. Instead of saying, we've already talked about it, we're not going to talk about it again, not letting those feelings come up, how do you work forward from there? You don't have a fight and then revisit fights from 10 years. See what I mean? Because that means you're bringing along that poison and carrying all that weight. Who you are right now, this second, doesn't dictate who you can be 5 minutes from now. If you were the person that says, I hate Christmas, you know what? This Christmas, go out and buy all the lights you can. Annoy your neighbors. Go out and buy the biggest tree and dress in stupid sweaters, you know, and do whatever you're going to do. And then people are going to be like, dude, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? You're listening to Christmas music? What's wrong with you, right? Because they already know you. You're not that way. See what I mean? You're not that way. And people want to keep you in that box because it's comfortable. People love to be comfortable, right? With themselves and with everybody else. You're already a given, don't change. And then when you change, they're like, oh, wait, now I got to give attention to this. Why are you so happy? Right? It's annoying. Stop being happy, right? You can change. You can say, I hate sushi, and then tomorrow you're going to be like, you know what, let's go try some sushis. Why? Because your mind can do whatever you want it to do. But you know what? I don't wear white shoes, let's say, right? I used to say I don't wear tennis shoes. Now that's all I wear. You can't get me out of tennis shoes. I used to say I don't wear tennis shoes. It's stupid because I grew up that way. Because my parents would smack me in the head if I was wearing tennis shoes all the time, right? Unless I was playing a sport. That was their poison. That was what they were carrying. That was their absolute. They wanted me to live in their absolute, and I refused to do it. I live my own way, and I live in a way where I try not to hurt anybody. That's important. But I'm going to do life my way, and that is by not living in absolutes and changing my mind as often as I can. Call it a flip-flopper. If I was a politician, I'd be in trouble, man. Because they'd be like, well, yesterday, and I'll be like, that was yesterday, buddy. Read the law of attraction, people. That's good. I would be the worst politician. All right, so the last thing is this. I was talking to a gentleman in the back earlier, and we're talking about meditation versus prayer versus visualization. Detach yourselves from naming things, okay? You know, naming things and giving things value of a name can scare you off from things. Sometimes I will talk to a spiritual person. I say, hey, do you pray? I don't pray. Because they relate prayer with like a religion or something, right? And maybe they had a bad experience with religion, so they don't want to touch that. Sometimes you talk to a religious person. And you say, hey, do you meditate? I don't meditate. That's Eastern Buddhist juju, right? It's voodoo. Clear your mind, right? Okay, I get that. But it's the word that scares them. People are fear-based, and if you want to be better than the other 99% on this planet, you have to let those fears go. You have to detach from the things. And when you notice that that things do give you fear, or they trigger things, that you're carrying this hate with you, you got to ask the question right then and there. You got to correct it right then and there. That's not who I am. Why is that making me angry? Why do I hate that? I know people have been abused. There might be people in the room who are abused. I'm not going to ask you personal stuff, but I'm sure there might be someone who was abused as a child, okay? Now, it happens. I know plenty of people that have. Some people come up and they succeed. Others don't. And the harsh truth is simple. The ones that succeed are the people that can get past it, past that hate that was put on them, past that evil that was put on them. And that goes for everything in life. If you're carrying something with you, you can't move forward, just like George couldn't walk, right? So you can be like, oh, I was abused, and you're going to stay there. And I can't do this because I was abused, and I don't do that because I was abused, and I don't think that way because I was abused. You see what I mean? But the abuse is not happening today. God forbid, I hope. You know what I mean? It's what happened to you. Your past is what has abused you. You can let it go and just start. Turn off your computer. You know when your computer's all acting all crazy, and what is the tech guy? The first thing the tech guy tells you, have you rebooted? Have you rebooted? Oh, let me try that. Oh, it's working. Don't worry about it. Rich, cancel that. So, but you know, right? And so sometimes our minds need that reboot. Okay, it just needs a little bit of like, why am I having all these issues? And many times it's us. Many times it's us. You know, the last speech that I gave, I was talking to people. I'm like, it's easy to say, that person's doing this to me. That person's making me feel like this. That person's a whatever. Use whatever word you want there, right? But it's harder to say, what am I doing wrong? How am I reacting to this person? How am I making it worse? Right? That's what's hard to do, because none of us want to look inside. None of us look in the mirror when we're mad. Have you ever looked at yourself when you're mad? Of course not. You don't want to. You look ugly. And you look evil, right? Do that. Next time you're angry or ugly crying, go in the mirror and you're going to be like, oh, what the heck? And you're just going to like want to get out of it, right? Because your conscience is like, this is not cool. Why don't you do that for your emotions? Why don't you do that when you're being ugly and living in certain ways, making other people feel? Why don't you do the same thing and put that mirror, that emotional mirror in front of you and say, wow, what am I doing? You won't like it if you turn that mirror inward. And that level, when you get uncomfortable that way, will make you evolve and make you change. If you want goodness to come into your life, it's got to start from within. Like everything else, it has to start from within. And if you do that exercise once a day, trust me, your brain and your mind will activate in ways you've never seen. Okay? Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.